Yeah, absolutely. Another point about the AI that I found really interesting in contracts was basically you could be potentially handing over your competitive edge to your competitors in some of the contracts and the way they're structured. I found that point was really interesting and a point that probably a lot of companies had no idea about, especially if they're going into these contracts.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, I've always struggled with ERP software in general, that being the case. Even, earlier in my career, when you could customize software and more companies were customizing ERP software, even back then, it felt like, there's such a tendency to want to use off the shelf software, which is understandable in some ways. But using off the shelf software means you're just designing your processes the way everyone else does. And in some parts of your business, that might be okay, but there's going to be some parts of your business where you don't want your competitors doing things the same way you do them, or vice versa. So now with cloud and now with AI, it's sort of like we continue to move this direction where the real center of power is moving to the vendors. The software vendors are the ones that are benefiting the most, not just in terms of the profit they make on selling software, but just the fact now that they're going to own these big, massive AI models. And you, as just one of, say, 30,000 customers that have ceded your data and ceded control of your data to a software vendor, now you've taken one of your biggest competitive critical assets as an organization. You just pass that on to a software vendor for them to get the real benefit and the real value out of it. So I don't know. I think it's a problem. I think it'll lead to a pretty significant backlash against ERP vendors longer term.